Greetings everyone, I am Desseus of the Aurora community, and I'm here to present to you my beginner's guide to New World. Just a bunch of tips, tricks and advice to help those of you coming from other games get yourself acclimated to the Isle of Eternum. Check it out. I just want to take this opportunity, guys, to remind you I am streaming on Twitch during this entire preview event of New World. Link in the description below. Stop by, say hi, ask me some questions that you want to ask in person rather than just leaving as a comment on the YouTube video, rather. Almost a Discord there. On to my first point, and it's a pretty major one. Camps. Here's the thing with camps, right? In New World, there is no graveyard. There's no place that you go to when you die, you just pick where you respawn. One of those options can be your camp, which you can place yourself out in the world. So smart placement can mean shorter distances to travel and less time wasted getting back to where you were. Camps also allow you to sit down at them by pressing T to rest, which helps regen health after your fight, should you not have any buff food on you for whatever reason. You can also do some basic crafting, usually just weapon coating, like flint arrows, basic sword, a few other things. Nothing worthwhile too much, but it's worth noting that you can actually craft it, and some things are specifically only crafted at your camp. These will become more vital in PvP fights out in the world, as well as just helping you should you be struggling to save you time getting back to where you were, where you're questing or where you're leveling, grinding mobs, whatever you're doing. Camps give you a shorter time to travel back and forth should the worst happen, so making regular use of them is vital. They only cost 5 pieces of wood and 1 flint. You press Y, you build it not near a landmark, which is anywhere marked on a map with a symbol of some kind. Bear that in mind. Build it where you can when you've got a flat piece of terrain, add the items in, boom, stand back, done. And you've got a nice little helpful respawn point. Next piece of advice, quite possibly the most important, is to pick up a life staff. And here's why. Yep, that is speed of light. I did mention earlier there was a movement ability. That's it, and that is going to be your best friend depending on what kind of progression or leveling you're looking for. I mean, in general, it would be your best friend regardless. It's the quickest way to travel whilst out on foot in the world. Not to mention, you can use it to escape PvP from gankers, and it can also help you with like long distance traveling, obviously, but also the delivery missions, when you may have to make those trips to like long far off places, which sometimes you do for the delivery missions. This is going to be the quickest way to go about it. So you absolutely, in a world with no mounts, you absolutely need one of these leveled up to at least level 5, so you've maxed out the speed of light ability, and that way you can get the most out of this. Onto some crafting now, specifically cooking and Arcana. Starting with cooking, it is by far, I think, personally, the most important of the crafting skills for every player, simply because of the food you can make. There's normal recovery food, be it health, mana or stamina. There is warding food, and there's crafting/gathering food. Warding food helps protect against certain types of enemies on Eternum. Crafting/gathering food provide, well, bonuses to crafting/gathering depending on what you eat, and, well, the recovery food just helps you recover. However, all of these types of food will give you a bit of constitution, so health, and health regen. Now here's the kicker, they stack. Oh, and they stack well, because all of them last 20 minutes. So whatever you do, do not just use one type of these food, you need all 3. The stacking, health regen and the constitution goes a long way to helping you survive and brave the terrors of Eternum. Now, as I mentioned Arcana, and I did so for one very specific reason, and that's health potions. All they take is some herbs and some water. You can make yourself some health potions which don't always drop from mobs, and these little bad boys can help save your life. Though do be careful when using them in mid-combat, simply because once you start the animation, it ain't gonna stop until you've drank it, and you could open yourself up to more attacks and take more damage than you would if you were blocking or able to dodge. So time it right, get some distance from the mobs, chug a health potion and stay in that fight. Straight into my next point now, which is to hoard, gather and salvage. Absolutely hoard anything you get off mobs, even if you don't understand what it is, because chances are what they're dropping is crafting reagents or ingredients needed to process basic materials into higher level ones needed to craft higher level gear. You're obviously going to want this yourself, or your company's going to want it, or a friend's going to want it, or anyone. Hold on to it, don't just throw away stuff that's valuable. You're not going to know what's valuable yet, but you're going to learn in time. Same for gathering. You may as well get some gathering done whilst you're leveling, unless you really want a power level. There's plenty of things to gather, and the more you got it, the better, typically. You will be needing thousands upon thousands upon thousands of things like iron bars, for example. And then there's salvaging. Absolutely do not throw away any armour or weapons you do not want. Salvage them instead. You break them down into some crafting materials, which again, helpful, but you also get repair parts. Repair parts are used to fix your gear when it's damaged, so you don't break it. You can actually fix it back to up to full durability, and you don't have to go around naked. Moving on to some advice with leveling with missions. There's a few ways you can level in New World. You could just purely grind mobs, you could do story quests, or do missions from your faction representative. These come in two types, PvE or PvP. PvP requires you to flag for the missions, meaning you will be enabled for PvP, which comes with its own benefits but also risks involved. On one hand, you'll get 10% extra experience, and the missions you do generally offer more rewards and experience for completing them. However, because you're flagged for PvP, you could be killed by other players. And when players kill you, your PvP missions you were doing reset back to 0, meaning you got to start all over again, and you could have up to 3 at a time. This makes it very much possible that if you're on your third and final mission but you die before you hand it in, it could reset all 3 if you haven't handed them in. PvE on the other hand, just rewards less experience, less reward, but it's safer. What you choose is up to you, however there's a special kind of mission that offers more experience than the rest. That is delivery missions. Missions that have you act like a glorified courier going from town to town delivering things for a huge amount of experience. They come in both PvE and PvP types. These are the missions I would run if I have a life staff with the speed of light on. It's actually the quickest way to level. Again, because some of these are PvP missions, you could get ganked and forced to restart. However, if you're running with the life staff, you can blink past most people, as well as higher level mobs, so don't be afraid to go to higher level zones for these missions either. And they reward you with so much experience early on, every mission you complete is a level almost. So that would be my advice, is to just run those delivery missions. If however you want to choose a different way, if you are going to do the PvP route with killing mobs and other patrols, friends could help. Otherwise you could do the PvE route, which is just completely safe, just takes a bit longer, that's all. Moving on now to faction rewards in relation to Corruption's Bane. Here's the thing, there's a quest chain out there that as you level, you'll start gathering pieces for what will become an Azov staff. This staff is used to access and finish another piece of content called Corrupted Breaches. They're like mini pocket invasions out in the world that you must fight back and disable. Now usually you'd have to go through this huge quest chain to pick yours up. However, if you go to your faction representative, you'll see that you can buy rewards from him. One of the rewards is a staff called Corruption's Bane, which allows you to seal the breaches also. So rather than waste your time, which could be like hours on a quest chain, once you hit around level 20, go upgrade your level with your faction, and you can buy Corruption's Bane and you can already get access to that sort of content straight away. Just saves you the time. You can go through all the story and the lore if you want to by doing the quest chain, but for those of you who've probably just gone the delivery route like I have, this is probably much quicker for you. It's also worth noting, while you can buy gear, should you be ahead of the curve in terms of what people are crafting and such in the game, the faction reward stuff is really expensive for what it is. Crafting gear is always better. Even drops from certain mobs can be better than the gear that your vendors will sell, your faction representatives. However, if you're desperate, you have no other choice, you may as well pick some up if you can. On to my next 2 points, which are only really for people who are coming from more tab-targeted games with less experience in action combat. If that is not you, feel free to disregard these points. However, if you are struggling to adjust to New World, there's 2 things you can do. One is to put more points into Constitution early on. More Constitution equals more health, it's not really that complicated. Also heavy armour. Heavy armour is more resistant to physical damage, which most of the mobs will be doing, as opposed to elemental, which is magical damage. However, it is worth noting that once you do adjust, you can change this entirely. You have free respecs of your points, your attributes, until you hit level 20, so you can play around as much as you want and get comfortable. It's also worth noting that this is a terrible idea in PvP. So if you're looking to do some PvP content, you're going to want lighter armour and a good balance between the two damage resistances in order to increase your chances of survival. That, and you're also going to want the better dodge rolls. You don't want to be in full heavy armour unless you're going no damage, full constitution, full heavy plate. And for my final tip, just like in the thumbnail, avoid bears. But no, seriously. Take the time to learn the attack patterns of different creatures you'll fight in Eternum. You'll see this white glow around mobs at times. This is called grit. It has both PvP and PvE implications. We're going to focus on the PvE today. I'll mention it in PvP in another video. Basically, grit is just a warning to you. It's telling you, look, you're about to get hit with something, dodge or block. Different mobs all have different attack patterns. Boars will typically just charge in a straight line. Wolves and like cats and lynxes will all sort of like dash around to try and flank you as well, whilst also doing leaping attacks on you that will apply bleeds. And then you've got things like really big predators like bears, which just literally stand up on their hind legs and maul you to death unless you flank around, avoid its attacks, and keep hitting it in its sides. So my point is just pay attention to the combat. You can't just look away, smashing your keyboard or face rolling across it to hit all your buttons. Really what I'm trying to say is just take your time and study your enemies. Because the more you dodge, and the more damage you avoid, the better health you'll be coming out of the fight, the more you can just focus on leveling and just getting straight to the next mob and the next mob and the next mob without having to have pauses in between. And I do believe we are done. Thank you for staying tuned with me till the end. If you thought I missed off any critical advice, please leave a comment below and let me know. If any of you could take the moment to also give a like or subscribe, it'll go a long way to help me in keeping the content like this going. Always appreciated. I also stream on Twitch. I'll be streaming every other day, although during the preview I'm going to be streaming as much as I can. I will also have my social media appear on screen in a second. And with that, as always guys, take care.